All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. I think some people are coming in, but in the interest of respecting everyone's time, welcome to the Klamath County Chamber of Commerce Candidate Forum. We are live from the audit. I have to say some of this because we are live and they're live streaming this, but we are live from the auditorium at Oregon Tech Center for Excellence in Engineering and Technology. I am your host, Heather Harder. I'm the Executive Director of the Klamath County Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber feels strongly that it is the responsibility of the citizens to shape the community, and one of the ways we can do that is to cast our votes. An informed vote sends a message about the kind of world we want to live in, our priorities, our focus, and our future. That's what tonight is about, your opportunity to hear directly from the candidates and make the choice that best supports the kind of community you want to live in. So a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Tonight we are proud to partner with My Basin to expand our coverage to not only the citizens in this room, but also all of you out on the internet that are watching. This event, like I said, is live streamed by My Basin, who will also post the recording of tonight's forum to their website for those who are not able to attend or watch right now. We also want to thank Randy Shaw and Coldwell Banker for sponsoring this forum. Can we get a quick round of applause for My Basin, Randy Shaw, Coldwell Banker, and Oregon Tech? Prior to tonight, we have discussed the rules of the forum with all of the candidates. They will each have 2 minutes for an opening statement, 90 seconds to answer questions, and at the end, 2 minutes for a closing. The order of the candidate responses were randomly drawn earlier today, and that's how they're seated here tonight. Prior to tonight, none of the candidates were given any questions that will be asked by our panel. As for you, our fantastic audience, we do have some ground rules to help things go smoothly and to help our friends on the internet hear. To start, I'll quote a famous rapper who said, "I'm not shy about heated debate or passionate discourse, but when people get crazy or rude, that's a buzzkill." So there's got to be a better code of conduct, some basic etiquette. So with that in mind, we ask that everyone in the audience please maintain respectful behavior at all times, refrain from any disruptive or distracting actions. Please don't interrupt the candidates while they're speaking or answering questions. If you haven't already done so, please silence your phones. No heckling, no booing, no making derogatory comments toward the candidates or other audience members. And finally, please hold your applause until the very end when we say a thank you. It's kind of hard to hear on the internet when that's happening, and it's also hard to hear the next candidate in line. So I do have a few volunteers around the room that will gently remind you if necessary. So now I want to introduce our panel. Randy Shaw, Coldwell Banker. He'll be asking questions. He's also a member of the Chamber's Government Affairs Committee. And Brienne Humphrey from First Interstate Bank. She's also a Chamber board member. Keeping time, we have Erica Rogers. I've already shared with you guys, but as a reminder, Erica will hold up a yellow 30-second warning sign and a red stop sign when the time is up. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're in the middle of a sentence, feel free to continue, but don't do more than that. So I'm going to introduce the candidates before they make their introduction. We have Peter Mike Shepard, Shane Mitchell, Brian Bryson, Sean Ferns, Ryan Kaber, Billy Stripling, and Darren Craig. So with that, if our timekeeper is ready, then we'll let you, Mike, get started.
Is it on? All right. Hi, I'm Mike Shepard, and I'm probably going to go a little bit different direction than most of these candidates today. I did 35 years in law enforcement, and during that time, I have what I call the exemplary career. And I never had any disciplinary action that went out against me. I never had any case where they would do an internal investigation or anything like that. But if you were to look me up on the internet, you would find out in December of 21, I was arrested and charged with growing marijuana. I made the front page news, first time ever. And this is political rhetoric as far as I'm concerned, because a lot of people like to use that information and they've become the judge, jury, and the executioner in my case. But like Paul Harvey would say, what's the rest of the story? If you were to look further, you would find this public document that states that all those charges against me were dismissed. Or you would find this public document, which is a set-aside order that states that anything that was pertaining to that case was to be sealed. And any actions that were taken against me were to be deemed they didn't happen. The problem is that some of these candidates here and their constituents seem to want to keep bringing up the public rhetoric in order to tear me down. I prefer to give out information that I think is good and truthful and will get you to vote for me because I believe I'm the best candidate for the sheriff's office. However, what I really want you to do is don't believe the public rhetoric. Believe the facts, because the truth is that I've never committed a crime in my life. And use the facts when you make a determination who you're going to vote for sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, everybody. My name is Shane Mitchell. A little bit about me. I was born and raised here in Klamath County. I've got 2 daughters, 3 grandchildren. They still live in this county. I'm 24 years with the Klamath County Sheriff's Office. I started out my career as a reserve. Less than 1 year later, I was hired full-time. I've moved up in the ranks. Last 5 years, I've been a patrol sergeant. I oversee the school resource officers as well as the patrol division and oversee all the training through the department. So I have an interest in this department. I want to see this younger generation that we have right now succeed. I don't want to see them fail. I train beside them, I work beside them. So it's going to be a rough road. We're going to make it happen. But keeping these young guys in our department is the full interest of what I can do to make that happen. I got to have trust and honesty with them, and I believe I have that coming from them. So moving on, I've built relationships with the community already. I teach outside of our department, agencies, other agencies in the county, outside this county. I train beside partners here at the City Police Department as well as the Oregon State Police. I want to build those relationships and keep that going. So that's why I'm here for, and I'm not going to give it up. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Brian Bryson. I moved to Klamath Falls when I was a year old. I went to Peterson Elementary, Brixton, and graduated from Mazama High School in 1988. My wife graduated from Mazama High School. She's a lifelong resident. My daughter graduated from Triad in 2010. And our other daughter, my stepdaughter, graduated from Mazama 2 years ago and is currently a sophomore at Eastern Oregon University studying pre-law. I started with the Sheriff's Office in late 1995. I got hired on full-time in the jail in '96. I've worked there ever since. I've held positions as jail deputy, jail corporal, patrol corporal, forest deputy, marine deputy, property crimes detective, search and rescue manager, search and rescue coordinator, jail lieutenant commander, jail captain, and the operations captain. I'm dual certified in both the jail and patrol. I have a basic corrections certificate through the Department of Public Safety Standards and Training, and I have beginners, intermediate, advanced, and supervisory through DPSST for the patrol division. I volunteer in our community. I'm on the Fair Board and have been for the last 3 years. I've been the chapter chair of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation for 7 years and on that committee for 24 years, sorry. I also have volunteered for the Mule Deer Foundation and life member of that as well. So I have a vested interest in the office as well. My one daughter still lives here. She farms alongside her husband. We have 3 grandkids. They're actually 2 of them are playing baseball right now. I'm missing that. But they go to Merrill, and my daughter also owns a business in Merrill, a cowbell boutique. So we're vested in the community as well. My in-laws, they grew up here. They had businesses here, and Klamath Falls is lacking public safety, and I think that I have the direction to take it to a new level. Thank you.
Good evening. Again, thank you all for coming out. I recognize a lot of you guys. My name is Sean Ferns. I started my career back in 1995 with the Klamath County Sheriff's Office Reserve Program, right alongside Brian Bryson here. Before the reserve program was over, I was hired on with the Klamath County Jail. I spent 2.5 years in the jail. During that time, I spent time with Chuck Collins, one of my padres right there. Supervised inmates, got to do the work crew, did a little bit of transport. Then I decided to go to patrol when they had an opening. During my time on patrol, I spent several years. I was able to obtain a canine dog she was a detection dog for looking for drugs, little yellow lab. I was also on the SWAT team, the interagency SWAT team with the Klamath Falls City Police and the Klamath County Sheriff's Office. I was the only one at the time from the Sheriff's Office on that team, and I've been the last one since then. Nobody else has joined that team. The Sheriff's Office since then has also started up a SRT team, Special Response Team. I joined that, which is SWAT team also. Also, when I was at the Sheriff's Office, I was a part of the first criminal investigation street crimes guy. So I'd drive around with my dog in my car, and I'd solve all the cold calls and all the burglaries and thefts that the other guys could not do because they were running from call to call. I've spent my time on patrol and in that department doing everything I possibly could. 2011, I left. I went to the city police. While I was at the city police, I worked on patrol for 2.5 years on graveyard, and then went over to criminal investigations, and then BINET. So I was working drugs, trying to kill the problem with drugs, but unfortunately it didn't work. I wish I had more time to tell you guys about my time and my life and stuff, but unfortunately 2 minutes is not enough. You know, I've got 3,500 hours of documented hours. There's a lot more that were never documented. So please come visit with me afterwards so I can fill you in about everything I've done. I've done almost everything in the department of the Sheriff's Office, City Police, except for Marine Patrol. Thank you guys for coming out and drive home safe.
How's this? Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening. Thank you for coming. My name's Ryan Caber. I work at the Sheriff's Office as well. I've been there for a little over 15 years. I was born and raised here in Klamath County. I left after I graduated high school, and I spent 8 years on active duty in the Coast Guard. I was raised to serve and always wanted to be in civilian law enforcement, but finally, after 8 years, I was finally ready to step out. I define myself by who I am. I didn't always get this right, but I'm a child of God first, and then I'm a son and a brother, and I'm a husband and a father and an uncle and so forth. I work as a deputy. I used to get that backwards, but I got it right many years ago. Believing that we should never quit learning, after I went to work at the Sheriff's Office in 2008, later on, I had an opportunity to go back into the military, and so I still continue to serve in the Air National Guard, and I hit my 20 years next month, actually. And believing, like I said, that we should never quit learning, I went back to school, and I graduated in 2022 with a master's degree in public safety administration. And I've been fortunate to serve in several different capacities, like many of the others, from patrol, and I've served as a patrol sergeant and a detective sergeant. I've been a field training officer and a coordinator, and done many things. Part of the reason I found a home at the Sheriff's Office was because the name tag, where it says Sheriff's Office, represents a bunch of jobs that I don't do. I don't climb Mount McLaughlin like our volunteers. I don't patrol the lakes. I don't work in the jail, but I get to work with men and women who do, and I recognize that my role is a piece in that machine. We chose Klamath County to come back here, or rather God chose us to come back to Klamath County to raise our family. Married to my wife Angie for over 20 years. My 18-year-old daughter is off to the Coast Guard herself in August, and my son, he gets the final 7 years before he flies the nest to be the only child. So thank you guys, and I look forward to answering some of your questions.
Good evening, I'm Billy Stripling. I was also born and raised here in Klamath Falls. After I graduated from high school, I knew I wanted to get into law enforcement, but I also knew it was my duty to serve this country. My dad retired from the United States Navy, and if my first grade teacher was alive today, she'd tell you that in the first grade I told her I was going to join the Navy. Well, I didn't join the Navy because I wanted to be in law enforcement. I joined the United States Army, where I served for 21 and a half years. Throughout that time in the Army, I was a military policeman, I was a dog handler, I was a drill sergeant, and I finished my time as a recruiting first sergeant. I married my wife, who also graduated from high school here in Klamath Falls, and we've been married for 38 years. We have 2 daughters and 2 granddaughters. After I retired from the Army, I went in to work for the Lane County Sheriff's Office. And as we all know, Sheriff's Office budgets in the state are not very good. I got laid off after a year and a half, tried a different career, realized real quick that wasn't for me. I went back into law enforcement, working for the Corvallis Police Department. After working there a year, I went back to Lane County, hoping that the budget had got better because I lived in Springfield. 2 years later, I got laid off again. So I told my wife, I said, this is crazy, I need to get a job. Threw out applications, luckily landed Klamath Falls, and we got to come home. I've been here for almost 12 years. I've moved up quickly within the ranks. When Sergeant Collins retired, I got to fill in his shoes and help run the jail, and then I've moved up from there. Since becoming the jail commander in August of 22, 9 months later, we had a jail inspection, which we have every other year, and the first time in my history, we got 100% compliance.
Hello, I'm Darren Craig. Career-wise, this is a second career for me. I've been with the Klamath County Sheriff's Office for 19 years, almost 20 now. Prior to this, I worked for Alcoa, and I bring that up because I think it relates to this particular job. So in Alcoa, I started on the floor. I was elected through the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers to represent that facility. I represented 1,100 people. I did all of their contract negotiations, benefits packages, was responsible for training and education for that facility. I also did benefits disputes for all of our employees. Later on, that industry was starting to fail, and we were trying to keep the plant open. I spent about 3 years flying back and forth between Washington, D.C. and Ferndale, Washington. I spent a lot of time speaking to congressmen, senators, representatives. I've testified several times with Senate committee hearings. Ultimately, we were successful in keeping the plant open. And I negotiated the final contract for that facility and then came here because I wanted some more stability. So I started in the jail here, went to patrol. I worked forest, marine, and patrol. I'm a corporal, have been for most of my career at the Klamath County Sheriff's Office. I run the Marine Division and have approximately 12 to 15 volunteers, depending on what time of year it is, responsible for that budget. And I was elected 3 terms to represent the employees at the KCSO. So I believe they have their trust and respect. And stop.
All right, with that, we will move into the question portion. One thing I did want to mention, about every third time, they will repeat the question. That's primarily for the people on the online audience. So, Brian, if you're ready.
I'm ready. And Shane, you get to start with this question. Please tell us about your managerial supervisory experience and include your experience working with budgets.
So supervisor, I'm 5 years a patrol sergeant as well as a school resource officer sergeant. I oversee patrol deputies. I oversee the school resource officers and the 16 county schools, as well as the Klamath Community College, where I have a substation where I'm based out of. So I'm separate right now from the sheriff's office, but I still go there every morning, and then I go to my office and deal with what I have to do there. I'm in charge of the SRT. I'm the team lead. I oversee all the SRT trainings and op plans for any high-risk incidents. I'm the training coordinator, which I oversee the patrol as well as office staff. In the past 5 years, I built a training program for the agency, as well as streamline the training program going from our office to DPSST, which I submit all those training hours for the department, and I have to keep records of all those training hours. So with that, I work with every deputy in and out, as well as the administration. I'm also the Reserve Deputy Coordinator. I facilitate the hiring process for the interviews, the training, as well as the testing process. Management, for the budget, I oversee the reserve program, or the training program, which is the funding program for each deputy, so many dollars a year. I also see over the training budget for the ammunition. Thank you.
So I first got promoted in 2013, I believe it was. It might have been 14 to a corporal. And then worked as a corporal in 2017. I went in the jail as a lieutenant, overseeing that budget of about $6 million. And as operations captain, helped the sheriff oversee the entire budget of the sheriff's office, which is over $12 million. So that includes procurement of vehicles and employees and training and the budgets for every division within the agency. Supervision-wise, I supervise all of the supervisors in the sheriff's office as the operations captain, all the lieutenants and the sergeants and corporals and deputies. And I've also supervised between 80 and 100 volunteers with search and rescue and small boat rescue and our dive team as well. We oversee the budgets for those. We make sure that at the end of the year, our volunteer budget is pretty small. So a lot of our volunteers want a lot of things that we just can't provide because we don't have the budget. I can tell you that since 2017, with the current sheriff and the commissioners that we have, they've really supported search and rescue and have helped manage and procure a lot of equipment. I've helped in the last, I think, 5 years, get over $450,000 worth of equipment for search and rescue. So.
When I started my career, I started as an engine foreman at the U.S. Forest Service. I also was a squad boss where I supervised workers on wildland fires. Moving into my civilian life, I route manager for Coca-Cola, route manager for Norco, supervised all that stuff. I also did inmates, work crews, patrol. I was supervisor of the FTO. FTO is a field training officer, the new recruit. That's a feat in itself with a brand new kid on the road that's out there trying to learn how to do the job and make sure that they're safe. Also, as a SWAT operator, I made master SWAT operator. So, I had young individuals that were below me, then they'd come out and go out and work on different little tasks with me. I've coached sports. I also was involved with Basin United. I was the president of that facility. We oversaw a budget there. I took it from the black and made it, and we're profiting money. I was on the Klamath Falls City Budget Committee. That budget alone is over $150 million. I did that for multiple years. I was also the Explorer Program coordinator. We had a budget there with the young kids, make them happy. I was always buying them stuff to keep them coming in and filtering the kids into the program. The nice thing about me is I've got a crew of individuals that are willing to jump on board as grant writing for me so we can get some equipment that the Sheriff's Office needs. That way we can take off from the budget and put it onto the grants that we are able to obtain. I'm not going to go anymore. Thank you.
I'll just repeat the question. Please tell us about your managerial, supervisory experience and include your experience working with budgets.
My experience in leading groups began after 9/11. I was in Boston when the planes hit the tower, and the Coast Guard, much like the Sheriff's Office, gives a tremendous amount of responsibility to some of its most junior members. And so in post 9/11, that's when I began doing vessel boardings and working on boarding teams and moving forward. When I was hired by the Sheriff's Office, much like I just described, you were given a lot of room to roam. You were by yourself a lot and you had to make decisions. And I joined the military just like I joined the Sheriff's Office because I wanted to serve. I didn't realize that I would find that satisfaction in serving the people that I worked with, and that came years later in 2017. I dabbled in it a little bit, being a field training officer like Ferns mentioned, as you were helping people. But when I became a patrol sergeant, which I believe derives from the Latin word to serve, I was able to finally help serving people. They were my own people. During that time, I've been the field training coordinator. We ran that program. I've been the K-9 Division Coordinator, the Detective Sergeant, and so forth. Working with the budgets, I managed some grants and I had small little budgets that within the realm of the Sheriff's Office. What I do know is that while many of us can talk about the things that we will do, none of it can be accomplished without the help of a really great team. And so if I'm elected, several of those people that have made this great team over time, they will stay. I have a working knowledge, they have the expertise.
I have over 30 years' experience in supervisory positions between the time I spent in the Army and now as a civilian law enforcement officer. While in the Army, I supervised anywhere from 3 to upwards of 60 people. One of the last jobs I had in the Army, I was a recruiting first sergeant. I was responsible for 8 recruiting stations that stretched from Grants Pass up to Albany and the coast over to Bend. And there was about 30 recruiters within that company. Now that I'm working in civilian law enforcement, I started out as a sergeant, supervising the day-to-day shift that I was assigned to. Now as a lieutenant, I am supervising the jail, which is the largest division within the Sheriff's Office with about 52 members. As far as working with budgets, as you move up in the Sheriff's Office, you start to learn more and more about budgets. I've learned quite a bit about how to manage the Sheriff's Office jail side of the budget, always keeping in mind that we are keepers of the money for the people and not to spend it frivolously and to make sure we get our maximum out of it. Like Ryan said, I'm no expert at a budget, but that's why I have a finance manager to guide me along.
So I have about 4 decades of leadership experience. And again, going back to previous experience, I represented 1,100 people and their families. That was a huge responsibility. I was responsible for, as part of the hiring process, training process, many, many years of leadership experience there. In Klamath County, 19 years. I've been a corporal, like I said, most of that time. I run the Marine Division. The budget there, it's about $250,000. I am responsible for writing the contracts and managing that budget. It's not a huge amount of money, but it is a significant portion that comes into Klamath County. So, again, supervising and leading. I have a group of volunteers and about 15 of them. 3 terms as the union president for our membership. Again, negotiating contracts, representing everybody when there were issues. Most of that time, well, I stopped running for, you got me sideways, sorry.
Don't you love it when that stop sign comes up? I spent, like I said, 35 years in the military, 15 or in law enforcement, and about 15 of those were with the Sheriff's Office. I, like Darren, was the Marine supervisor, so I had to manage that budget and to lead those people there. I was also the range master, so I had to manage the budget for making sure that we always had the equipment that we needed to perform our training. I also did just shy of 30 years in the military. I've always been one of those guys that always had more than one job at any given time. And the majority of that military career was spent out at Kingsley Field. During that time, I led numerous teams to go to different locations. I led 2 security teams to the desert in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. So I've had numerous opportunities to lead folks. For about 6 years out at Kingsley Field, I was the human resource advisor out there. So I got to learn a lot of things about how to train people and how to motivate people and how to get the job done. During that time, there was a lot of times where you had to learn and train and motivate people to get them to do a job, and sometimes they didn't want to do that job. But over the course of the years, I really learned what different people and their different personalities are and what they can do and what you need to do in order to get them to do the job. And there's many different personalities, and you have to understand all those personalities so you can lead and be an effective leader. And that's what the most important thing is, and I think that's what the sheriff's office really needs right now, a good, strong leader. Thank you.
Brian, we'll start with you. In your opinion, what is the top public safety issue facing our county, and what would you do to address this issue?
Well, I think there's a tie for first. One of them is our drug problem, and the other one is our financial problem. Our drug problem, I've done a lot of things in the sheriff's office. I've worked in, supervised, or managed every aspect of it except our drug team. I've never been on the drug team. I was assigned to it for 2 months a few years ago when we did a special operation, and we went out and bought drugs, and then later on with informants, and then later on wrote search warrants on them. But I can bring somebody in that does know it. He ran the largest drug team in the state of Oregon as a lieutenant, and he is very familiar with the high-intensity drug trafficking grant and how that works. We're Haida County, so he can come in and help build that program and help the state police and city police fight this problem that we're having right now. It's not just drugs. When you get into drugs, you're also getting into property crimes and thefts to fuel your drug and to pay for it. So that's one of them, and the other one is the budget. Our budget right now is we can take every penny. I was talking to the commissioners. We can take every penny of the property taxes brought in by the county, give it to the sheriff's office, and you're still over $2.5 million short. The general fund dollars just is not getting it anymore. So we need to change our policing model. We need to change it and do better policing with the program, with the money that we have right now and the staffing that we have, and then we can do analysis on those and come up with a number of what we actually need. Is it 10 or 20 more deputies? Thanks.
So I'm not going to go off on two of them. I appreciate Brian and everything. But our biggest problem in our community is drugs, okay? And like he said, drugs goes property crimes, go homicides, go assaults, goes robberies. All right, if we do away with drugs, our community, we're going to be just flying like you wouldn't believe. Everybody's going to know everybody driving down the road. Yes, I want to put somebody on the drug team. The sheriff's office does not have anybody on the drug team right now, and we need somebody on it. That way we have a say in the matter what that drug team does and where they go. Because right now it's just the city and the state, and they go in the city or they go to other states because they're always helping other agencies. I know, I did it for 4 years. All right, I was helping with the county cases, I was solving burglaries, but we were going out of state and going out of county, helping other agencies a lot too. But the other thing too is Measure 110. All right, 110 killed us. I think it's coming back because now instead of getting a citation to go to treatment, you're going to get arrested. All right, but if they go to treatment after that, I'd be an advocate for them to go into treatment and getting out of that. As long as they get in treatment, stay out of trouble for a long time. We need somebody to be an advocate for our community, to go above us, up to the governor, to get this stuff reversed back to where it was. So we can hold these individuals accountable for what they are doing to our community. Because if you don't realize it, drugs also with mental health. Our homeless individuals, it's all connected. It's all in the circle. Thank you very much.
I believe we got a lot of problems, and I don't disagree with either of their answers, but I believe that the biggest problem facing public safety in the county is what we're dealing with in the separating the sheriff's office from being subservient in a department of the Board of County Commissioners. Those are two constitutionally appointed and separate groups, and I believe that it's vitally important that those two stay separated. So it's a weakening of the organizational legitimization of the sheriff's office, and that I see as the biggest problem. We're constantly fighting battles on so many fronts that we don't have time to do any of the proactive policing that you expect with the dollars that you're giving to this business of criminal justice. We talk about, you see there's a lot of proactive, and so I understand where those complaints come from, that I was victimized and then it took an hour for the deputy to get there and so forth. Part of that is because of the problems that we're dealing with down there. I believe that if we're able to successfully put the sheriff's office as an office, not a department subservient to the county, back into its proper place, that many of these things will fix one another, and that's where I'm going to leave that.
I'm going to restate the question. In your opinion, Billy, what is the top public safety issue facing our county, and what would you do to address this issue?
I don't know if I can point out one thing that I would say is the main issue. As you've heard already, there are many things that we face in law enforcement that make our job challenging. There's the changing laws that make it harder for us to do our job. There's finances. There's being able to hire enough people to do the job and train them and keep them. There's the problem with bringing them to jail and then the judicial system letting them out. There are many problems, but as a leader, I would try to work on the things that we can and slowly build from there. Our job is to arrest them and to bring them to jail. It's not up to us whether they stay there. That's up to the court system and the judicial system. The drug problem, as Sean mentioned, decriminalizing that hurt this state. We can continue to work with organizations like the Oregon State Sheriff's Association to lobby the lawmakers to change these laws and quit tying our hands so much. But I firmly believe that we need to find secure funding for the sheriff's office. We need to train people, and we need to get more people working for the sheriff's office, because until we have enough bodies, we can't cover this whole county. There's just no way possible.
So all valid points. My personal opinion on what's most wrong is I believe that we've lost the trust of the public and the people that we've sworn to serve and protect. We're not responding like we need to respond. We have a revolving door. We're not transparent and have not been. When we do something good, we absolutely need to let everybody know. When we do something wrong, we need to let people know what we've done. We need to advise what we've done to correct that issue. We have to be transparent. And I truly believe that right now, we've lost the respect and the confidence of the communities that we're supposed to be serving. People are not calling us anymore. They're handling things on their own, which is dangerous. There's tremendous amount of unhappiness with essentially what's happening within the office. We can't be the news. We should be reporting on the arrests that we make. We can't be the topic of the news. Folks are frustrated. They're not seeing the deputies. We can't put deputies on the road if we have a revolving door. And we have to stabilize that office first before we can do anything else. All of those other issues, we can't fix those. We can't do anything other than fix our office first, make sure that we're able to get out and patrol, respond, answer calls, and stop.
I think Darren Craig hit it right on the head, that the primary reason we have problems within the county right now is the sheriff's inability to provide service for the entire 6,000 plus acres or square miles in Klamath County. Like he said, there's a revolving door. They have an inability to retain employees, and if you cannot retain employees, there's no way you could possibly provide service to anybody in the other than the urban growth boundary. You talk to people in the outlying areas, and it's pretty much the same story you get from everybody. Why call the sheriff's office? Because nobody's going to show up. There was an incident out in Sprague River area one time. just here not long ago where there was some people shooting at each other, and they called 911, and the answer that they got was, well, was anybody hit? Well, there's nobody available to show up. When you have to send a deputy the 100 and 120 miles north at 100 miles an hour trying to respond to a call because we don't have any residents in those outlying areas, you put everybody at risk because that car, you don't like seeing a car going 100 miles an hour up the highway for 100 miles. So they're traveling, putting people at risk for over an hour. Until we can stop that revolving door and start retaining people, which I told you I have lots of training in how to retain people, we can get people to stay. Once we get that going, then we'll be able to provide for the outlying areas as well as the inline.
So a major problem we have in our community is the Measure 110, the drug problem. You know, I'm pushing for zero tolerance. You know, we have officer discretion, who we can arrest, when we can arrest, other than certain crimes. If you have a zero tolerance, everybody goes to jail. It's an inconvenience for the criminals to walk down that hill or to call their friends to come pick them up. After a while, you keep arresting them, they're going to want to leave. They don't want to see us around. Hey, we know who that is. We're going to be stopping them. After a while, they're going to have warrants because they're not showing up. Arrest them, take them right back to the jail. Yes, we don't have the men and women right now to cover the whole area, but we are building up on our people. We're getting more deputies on the road during shift hours, 4 or 5. Visibility is the biggest thing right now. You can get deputies out in the outlying areas patrolling, making that visibility, the criminals are going to disappear. You learn who they are, you're going to push them somewhere else. Hopefully we push them out of our county, and that's the goal. We don't need them here. See you later. Thank you.
Okay, this is for Sean. What leadership qualities and characteristics do you bring to the table as the sheriff, and what strategies would you implement to improve morale in the department as well as build trust with the community?
So I've listed quite a few items that where I have leadership skills earlier in the thing. But the nice thing about me is, you know, I've not promoted in my years of service of 28 years in law enforcement, and I've chosen that, all right? Because I want to do the job, I want to know how to do the job, and do it the best I possibly can for our community. Then I wanted to go and be a supervisor. And guess what? My time ran out. It was 28 years, and it was time for me to go ahead and get out, be with my wife. So I can lead from the front and not from the back. A lot of these guys have done a lot of jobs up here, but they haven't done every single thing. I can lead from the front because I believe I've learned all those jobs and all those tasks in the sheriff's office. We have a retention problem, okay? I need to go in there, I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to make it a family-like atmosphere. I used to work at the sheriff's office. Everybody says money's an issue. We're leaving because of money. Money's not the issue. You got to live within your means. You got to learn how to do that, all right? I loved it there because I felt I was appreciated. I was supported by my superiors and my coworkers, so I looked forward to going to work every single day. Every night before I went to work, I was looking forward to going to work. I want to bring that back to those guys and girls. They need to be appreciated. I'm going to work right beside them every single day, whether it's in the jail or whether it's on the patrol. Because everybody's forgetting about our jail guys and girls, all right? But they're just as much important as anybody else. Thank you.
Yeah, I gave this a lot of thought over some time, if I could try and define one particular leadership quality. You know, was I bureaucratic, autocratic, democratic? What was I? What I strive to be is a servant leader. This is a servant profession, but there are times when I have found over the course of my career that you have to be adaptable to who it is that you're supervising or what the function is that you're in charge of, because each person requires something a little bit different. With my remaining time, I think what I'll talk about is Klamath County Sheriff's Office is still a good place to work, has been. We are not nearly as toxic or as broken as people would like you to believe. And some of those people are principal in the reasons why we're dealing with the issues that we're dealing with, and will now like you to believe that their solutions are the only viable options. As we move forward, in my opinion, it's about empowering. People will leave for a myriad of reasons. Money is one of them. I would like to remove money, and so that couldn't be part of the argument, but that will be. Some people leave because they don't like the schedule. Some people find out this isn't the profession from them. Others have used us as a stepping stone, and they want to move on to another location. I'm okay with that. It's my job as the sheriff to help them get to where they want to be, and so that they are so valuable that I can't afford to lose them, but they're also so accomplished that there's almost no way I can keep them. And so, as I answer the question in full, where do I land? It depends on what it is that is needed at that time, who I have filling those roles below me, and what is the best leadership model going forward to accomplish that mission.
Throughout my life and my career, not only in the Army, but since I've retired, my leadership style's changed. I've learned a lot about myself as a person. I can be hard when I need to be hard, but I try to be fair and firm with everybody. I also believe in empowering my people, training them, then letting them go out and do the job and not standing over them, watching them constantly. We train these people and we expect them to go out and put their life on the line. We need to expect that they can make the right decision. Are they going to make mistakes? Probably. We all do. I've made plenty in my career. But what I like to see with my folks is that they learn from those mistakes and that make themselves better. We have a good department. We have, like any organization, we have individuals who are unhappy. You can't please everybody. Taking care of your people doesn't always mean giving them what they ask for. Sometimes taking care of your people can mean being tough on them, snapping them back into reality and getting them to do things the way that they should be doing them. I believe in our organization, the sheriff's office, the people that work there. We come to work every day and we put in long hours. We're so short-handed, we can't do the things we need to do.
I'm going to ask the question again really quick. What leadership qualities and characteristics do you bring to the table as the sheriff? And what strategies would you implement to improve morale in the department as well as build trust with the community?
So again, I've been in leadership roles for 4 decades. The greatest leaders that I've ever worked for, people that have inspired me, are people that surround themselves with the best and the brightest people that they can find. They're willing to listen to ideas. They're 100% transparent. They set the tone for the agency or facility that they work in. You have to be above reproach, and you lead by example. That's exactly what needs to happen. Right now, we need to fix the idea that if you challenge the status quo, then you're an issue, you're a problem. We need to accept that we're not always the smartest people in the room and be willing to take advice and learn from basically the people that are working with us. I don't look at anybody as being subordinate. I hate that word. We're all partners. Right now, we have an issue within the office, and there's a sense of hopelessness, and I believe that with the right leadership, with what I'm bringing to the table, we're going to immediately turn that around. You have to be valued, you have to be respected, and you have to be appreciated for the work that you do. And right now, I don't feel like that's happening. The office is an amazing place. It is not, as we talked about, it's not broken. It just needs to be tweaked. There's really good people there.
I learned a lot of training and how to lead people, primarily while I was in the military. And I'm a leader that leads through inclusion. And the last forum we had, after it was over, someone sent me a message and said, "What are you going to do that's going to inspire people to stay if you get elected?" The primary thing that you can do is to, one, treat people with respect. Treat them the way they want to be treated. Walking into that office as the new sheriff, you don't come in with 5,000 new ideas and say, this is what we're going to do. Those people that have been working in that office, they know what they need. They know what they need to do their job. The first thing you're going to do is sit down with them and say, what do you need in order to make this office more successful? What's it going to take for us to get things going? Because I'm a firm believer that two heads are better than one, three better than two, and so forth. Because the people in the office right now, they know what needs to be done. They know how to do it. Don't get me wrong, I'll expect them to do their job. But I will do everything I possibly can to give them the tools they need to make sure that they can do their job successfully. And once you start doing that, I believe they'll be happy to be there and want to stay and get out and do the job. Thank you.
So my philosophy is I'm going to lead by example. When I first started, I was the gung-ho. I always had to be the first one to do everything, and my way. I've changed now. I'm open-minded. There's always more than one way to solve a problem. And teaching the new younger generation, it's a goal. You know, they're bright. You know, I don't know everything, but I'm not afraid to ask questions and ask for help from other people. Yeah, there's patrol people that know more than me about traffic. I'm not a traffic guy, but I do like to hunt people down, take them to jail. You got to be open-minded with them. You have to be available for them. I'm available at work. I'm available at home. My phone goes off in the middle of the night from deputies, from sergeants. You have to be available for them and be there to guide them. I'm going to mentor them through their career because they have to succeed. We don't want them to fail in our department. And having the trust from the guys is what needs to happen. And I'm going to work beside them. I'm still going to train beside them because I'm not going to leave them alone at any cost. Thank you.
In 2017, when I went in the jail as a jail commander, I had 6 supervisors with 6 months or less in their rank in the jail. It was a little scary. We went in there, we had a lot of things to fix, and we started rewriting policies. We worked together as a team, we challenged each other, and we took ownership. That's key. We took ownership. We took ownership of the good, and we took ownership of the bad. We're all going to make mistakes. You got to own it. You make a mistake, you don't get to throw in your chips and blame everybody else for it. It's yours. You own that. So we did that. And me and 2 of the sergeants in there, I think that we did an outstanding job. We led a very young group of employees, and we challenged them, and they had buy-in. Very, very seldom did we make a decision that we didn't talk about it as a leadership team. And when those deputies and clerks and cooks and medics and whoever else, they were involved in those decisions. At the end of the day, somebody has to make the final decision. That final decision is going to go the higher up you go in rank. That's who's going to make that decision. And it's not going to be supported by everybody below you. But you still have to make it. Not making it is not an option. So bring our people in, we challenge them, and we take ownership in that. And we are going to make mistakes, and we're going to get better as we go along as a team. Thanks.
Okay, we'll start with you, Ryan. Between the jail operation and patrol, what is your focus as sheriff, and explain why?
The sheriff has a couple statutorily mandated functions. Keeping the peace, that's done really well through patrol, and maintaining the jail, which is obvious that the jail needs to be maintained. The focus, there is a breakdown in some of the community trust there, like I talked about earlier. There's a reason for that. There's been some calculated reasons why the legitimization of the sheriff's office has been torn down. And patrol is a great place for that to be rebuilt. Because like many of you in the room, you can probably remember every time you were ever in a traffic stop. I can, but I can't remember half of the traffic stops I've ever done as an officer. Those are interactions that you have with the most visible function of the sheriff's office. They drive marked cars, they wear a uniform, they come to you in your time of need. You know, the old adage that nobody calls us to say they're having a great day. And so through that, I'm looking forward to the patrol deputies being able to have positive interactions with the public. Can't put a deputy at every call. I can make a phone call, and I can't make it to every location, but we can start that way. And through that, I think that the community trust will be built. In the few seconds that I have left, the jail deputies that come and work in patrol have been some of our most successful deputies because they learned early on that their ability to get into and out of trouble begins with their ability to speak. And so I'd like to keep the pipeline between the jail and patrol open as possible to get those really talented men and women over at the jail who have aspirations of working in patrol and vice versa to be cross-trained.
Working in the jail is probably one of the hardest jobs mentally that an officer can do. Those men and women put up with things that you just could not imagine a person would have to put up with. But I think one of the biggest things I would like to do as a sheriff is kind of make them feel more like they're part of the sheriff's office. We've been doing that slowly, but I think we still have growth that can be done there. People tend to forget about us over there. As far as patrol goes, we've got a bunch of great folks that work there. But as a sheriff, I would like to figure out a way to get better funding because we don't have the bodies to give adequate coverage for this county. 24-hour coverage is not the answer. We need adequate coverage. And until we do that, these people are working crazy, running call to call to call. They can't hit all of them. And even if we were there 5 minutes later, somebody would complain that we didn't do something we were supposed to do because that's human nature. But the sheriff's office is a great place to work. We got a bunch of great folks there, and we need to become a better family for each other and support each other.
So we have an amazing opportunity right now. I had the benefit when I came to work for the Klamath County Sheriff's Office that the mentors that I had many, many, many years of service. I learned from the best. That's gone away. What we can do now, though, is we have a young group of people who are amazing people. They're looking for leadership. The sheriff's office is never going to pay the most amount of money. It's never going to be an issue. We're always going to be short on dollars. We're going to be looking for those types of things, always. One of the benefits of being a deputy with the Klamath County Sheriff's Office is the various avenues that you can go down. You can specialize in so many different places. We have 6,500 square miles that we can work in. It's an amazing place to work. I want to take that office back to where I was when I walked in the door. We had people that were there forever. They were amazing at what they did. They're amazing at teaching the newest recruits how to be great deputies. Right now, we have a young crew, right? We're going to come in and turn it around with positive actions. I'm going to get to keep these people for years and years. And at some point, this office is going to go back. I know people don't want to talk about going backwards. I want it to go back to the way it was when I got there because it was an amazing place to work, and we were a family, and we did really, really good work. That's what we need to do.
Mike, I'll restate the question. Between the jail operation and patrol, what is your focus as sheriff, and explain why?
I don't think you can divide where your focus would be between the two because both of those entities make up the sheriff's office. One of the things that I see that's an issue is that when you're hired as a patrol officer, you do what? You do patrol. When you're hired as the jail staff, you do what? You work in the jail. And that in itself creates a little division. And what I see is that when you were doing our training as a new recruit, you should spend, if you're a patrolman or a patrol person, spend a little time in the jail. So you understand what they are doing in the jail and vice versa. If you're hired as the jail staff, you will spend a little time on patrol. So you get to go out there and spend a little time making arrests and see what's going on and how you have to talk to people when you bring people to the jail. By doing that, I think that all the officers get a better understanding of what is needed for the sheriff's office. And I think we need to get back to having social events. I remember when I worked there, we used to have social events. We used to have a picnic up at the range, and we have a little competition up at their range, and we'd bring the families up there, and we'd do a little shooting. We'd have a barbecue, and we'd have a pretty good time. That helps build camaraderie within the office. And if you don't have that camaraderie, you don't have the family-oriented thinking, and that you know that this person here has your back and you've got theirs. We need to get the family-oriented thinking and let everybody in the office know what the other people are doing. Thank you.
So we got to make the deputies and corrections all one again. You know, through the past years, I'll be up blunt. I'm tired of training guys, making them instructors, and they leave for the money. But if you build them, you create them, they're got success in building the department. Not better, just bettering themselves and bettering the department themselves by teaching, learning by one another. Right now, we got a young group of guys in the jail and on patrol. When I started 24 years ago, there was a mass hire. I had a group of guys that taught me. Now we're back in the same spot now. We have a young group of people, 2 years and below. They got to learn. They got to learn from the group that are there now and be taught and mentored. I don't work in the jail. All I hear is rumors of why people are leaving. If I become sheriff, I'm going to have to go over there and figure out why. Sit down with them. Why are you leaving? I know why they're leaving the patrol side. A lot of them chase that money. I could have left years ago. I love where I'm at, and I'm not going to leave anytime soon. So being beside them, working with them, just gaining their trust and respect. Thank you.
So jail operation and patrol operation, and what's the focus? It has to be both. The criminal justice system relies heavily on the jail. Everybody wants something from the jail, whether you're OSP, you're the district attorney, you're the defense, you're a private investigator, parole and probation, everybody needs something from the jail. So it has to be a priority. Right now, the jail gets just over $1 million a year. The county gets just over $1 million a year in the Justice Reinvestment Grant. And that also pays for parole and probation and some stuff at the district attorney's office. But it keeps CPOT open. So a few years ago, back in 2010 and 11, when we had layoffs and we shut down CPOT, the county felt it. They felt it. The failure to appear rate was over 80% in the justice system, and they felt it. And nobody was being held accountable. You can arrest somebody. I've arrested somebody and walked in there on 10 or 12 warrants and over 30 FTAs and lodged them just to know they're going to get back out. So the jail has to be a priority, and so does patrol, because patrol is your guys' public safety. It's not going to be a jail deputy coming out and taking your burglary or your domestic violence. It's going to be a patrol guy. So there has to be balance, and that balance is going to come with money. It has to be money. We've got the jail financially to where it's sitting pretty good. On the patrol side, that's the hurt, and that's what all of us are talking about right now is the funding for the patrol side.
So I spent a little bit of time in the jail when I first started out for 2.5 years. All these guys and myself, we've talked a lot about patrol, and we got to start talking about our corrections officers because we need to start making them happy to keep them where they're at. Right now, these guys and girls are getting overworked with all the extra overtime that they're having to do. We need to bring this, like Mike said, as a family. We need to start having picnics. We need to get both sides together. Not only that, the jail guys and girls, they go into that facility, they don't come out. If it's 8 hours, 10 hours, or 12 hours, they do not come out. They don't see daylight until they go home at night or they get off early in the morning. We need to give them time outside of the office of the jail to go do warrant sweeps, because we have files and files and files of warrants that are not, they're just sitting in the file cabinet. They need to be served. People out there need to go to jail because they're outstanding failed to appears. All right? You're right, Mike. We used to go out afterwards as a group, choir practice. But the one thing we're not talking about is mental health for our guys and girls that work in law enforcement, or let alone first responders. I want to bring in a mental health program so we can keep them stable. All right? The other thing, too, is that we need to bring in a financial advisor for these guys. Nobody's thinking about their future because when they want to chase the money, we bring in a financial advisor, they're going to start being able to see, guess what? I can't afford to do this job for as long as I want, because if I plan it correctly, I'll be able to get there.
Okay. Billy. Klamath County is over 6,000 square miles, a very large area to patrol. What is your plan to ensure the county is effectively patrolled? And is there an area you believe needs more attention? And if so, why?
I think I've said it a few times already, we don't have enough bodies. And my opinion, I'm not going to be able to do it without the support of community leaders and the citizens. We need secure funding. There is no way with the current staffing levels we have that we can cover all our outlying areas. The only way to do that is more money. And I get it. The county has a budget. The Board of County Commissioners have to have a balanced budget every year. They only have so much money to work with. So we need to, as a community, figure out what we want to pay for. If we can't hire more deputies, if we can't retain more deputies, we're never going to have enough to effectively give every citizen of this county coverage. Now with that, there's other challenges as well. I can't just hire somebody and say, hey, sell your house, you're moving to Gilchrist. Somebody's got to want to live there, okay? But then we also need to be creative. There are a lot of grants out there that we can purchase equipment, do things like that to help alleviate money on the taxpayers. One thing I would not do, and I would not hire somebody off of a grant, because grants are temporary. They're only here for a couple of years and then they're gone. I would not want to hire somebody and say, hey, you got a job for 3 years and then I got to let you go because the money's gone.
So it's going to be difficult, okay? One of the issues that we're having is funding, yes. I think we're pretty close to where we need to be to start getting some more people out on the road. We got people in the academy, depending on how they do and when they get back. We need to, there's things that we can do that we're not doing now that people are unhappy with. So can I get people to all the outlying areas? Because the outlying areas are the areas that are hurting the most for law enforcement. So we're not returning calls. We're not doing follow-up. There's a lot of things that would go a long ways to regaining the trust of the people that we're serving, doing simple things like that. You know, when I got here, the rule was, it wasn't a policy, the rule was if you would drive down to Altamont Street and handle a call, then you would go to North County, you'd go to Crescent and handle that same call. We're not doing that now, and we should be doing that. And if that means that you're going to have to go to North County and handle that call, that's what those people deserve, that's what they're paying for, and that's what we need to do. We spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to not get somewhere and not go somewhere. If we just went and did it, we would have the public's trust much more than we do right now.
I started at the sheriff's office back in 1990. And back in 1990, the budget was about $6 million. We had less officers, but we had resident deputies in North County. We had a resident deputy in Chiloquin. We had 2 out in East County, and we had a guy that kind of worked out in the Keno area. These guys keep talking about money and how that we're short of money and we can't do this. We're not short of money, we're short of people. And until you can start retaining people and start putting them out where they can work and be out in the community where they need to be, you're not going to be able to provide for the service of the Klamath County. The budget. In 2020, the budget was about $10 million for the sheriff's office. 21 is $11,800,000. 22, $12,760,000. 23, $14,500,000. 2024, $14,649,000. It has not gone down. What's gone down is the ability for people to be retained inside the sheriff's office. You have to be able to retain people if you want to provide a service. We've had resident deputies out in the outlying area before. We need to get back to that so those people in those outlying areas can get the same service that they're getting in the local area. Thank you.
So I hit on it earlier. Visibility is our biggest deterrent. Like I said earlier, we're getting staffing on patrol right now, 4 or 5 deputies. Our minimum staffing for the sheriff's office is 2 deputies. There's a sheriff's agreement where there's 3. Do we go back to the 2? It's an unsafe issue. When I started, 2 men, sometimes I'd start my shift at the beginning and never see my patrol partner until the next day. So right now we have the staffing. The 24 hours we can't do because we have people going in and out, but keeping them there is the main priority. You know, managing their time. They've got to be mentored on how to handle their calls. You got priority calls and you got the cold calls. The priority calls come first. You know, if they're going to respond to the call in, like in the urban growth boundary, they're going to respond to the calls that are out in the outlying areas. As long as there's 2 deputies in town, 2 out, or even 1. They just got to learn how to do the work and get it done in a timely manner. I think I can help that with the sergeants that we have now, just mentoring them. Thank you.
I'm going to repeat the questions really quick. Klamath County is over 6,000 square miles, a very large area to patrol. What is your plan to ensure the county is effectively patrolled? Is there an area you believe needs more attention, and if so, why?
So in 2010, we had budget cuts and we had layoffs and we lost 24-hour patrols. And since then, we're still doing the same policing model that we did then. And all we're going to tell you is stand up here and say we need more money. I don't think we need it. I think that our 24-hour patrols we have the budgeted amount of people to do 24-hour patrols. It's a retention issue. We need to retain some people. But as far as the budget goes, we have that. We have to change the policing model. In 2010, when we had layoffs on Saturdays, day shift, I was the only patrol deputy working the entire county for one whole summer. So I felt that hit. It makes for long days. But we have to change the policing model. My model is 24-hour patrols. It also includes community service officers. Community service officers are going to take all your non-person, misdemeanor property crimes off of the patrol deputy and putting it onto them. So the patrol deputies can go out and handle the felony calls and the burglaries and the assaults and the person crimes. That's not new. That's not me. I didn't invent that wheel. Agencies across the nation are using community service officers. The position's already there. We budgeted a clerk in our civil division under ballot measure 114 to help take that call load up, and it didn't come to fruition because Judge Rashio struck it down. We'll take that position. As soon as a clerk's position is open, we'll write a new budget resolution, we'll write a new job description, and we'll make that a community service. Is that the 100% fix for everything? Absolutely not, but it's a start. You have to start somewhere. Thanks.
I'm in agreement with Brian. Community service officers. When I was with the Klamath Falls City Police, we had CSOs, community service officers, and they were great. If we had an accident, they went and dealt with it. If they needed our assistance on something, we'd go and help them out. But we need community service officers. I've said that from before I even signed up to run for sheriff. But the other thing, too, is, yes, I worked with the sheriff's office when there was 1 officer on duty. Is it safe? It's not. But guess what? We also had state police, and we had the Klamath Falls City Police, because we worked really close together, and we're brothers and sisters in blue. We back each other up. If I needed somebody, they would come. So we got to get that relationship with the city police and the state police back with the sheriff's office so we can count on them and they can count on us. Because they're always tied up on stuff, and if their guys need backup, we go all the time. The other thing, too, is we need resident deputies. We do. It's the wheel that we have not, this is not being reinvented. It's been reinvented. We just got to bring it back to the car and put it back on so we can drive off like a happy little couple, okay? We need beats. The city police, we did it there. If you're assigned a beat, you cover that beat. You stay in that beat. You need backup, your buddy from the other side of the county, got to go. If you have a state trooper closer, that person goes too. Okay? So we got to take care of each other. So we got to build the trust with the city police and the state police back, along with our community. The other thing too is marked units. You guys don't know if there's a cop car out there driving around the south suburbs or out in the county, because they're all white, blue, silver, and every other color. They're not very well marked. We're going to go back to black and white cars so you guys know who's out there driving around.
I like the idea of resident deputies. I think it's a solution. In some places, it's a Band-Aid for others. I think 2 resident deputies at minimum would be a good solution for East County, for example, whereas I've always envisioned a substation up in the Gilchrist and Lapine area, and would love to see that some of the services that we provide at the main office here travel to the North County area and are there once or twice per month so that folks don't have to travel all the way down to Klamath Falls. I don't like the CSO model. I don't know how many CSOs you need in order to take those functions off of the deputies and what they're working. What I do like is an analyst model, and I don't think that we utilize that. What we have is sergeants trying to compile the data that is put in there. That data is only as good as the individuals who enter it, and then trying to determine when is the best time and where's the best location for us to be proactive in catching the crime before it occurs instead of reactive. I would look towards having an analyst to tell us where to be. Most of us, if you hunt in this room, you have a game camera. That's just doing an analysis. We do the exact same thing. So we're in the right places at the right time. I don't like that sergeants are part of the minimum staffing of 3 with such a young crew. I want to see the sergeants out there in the function of supervising and not feeling as though they need to handle their fair share of the same number of calls. And I think that we have the most competent corps of sergeants that we've ever had. Every one of the patrol sergeants was at one time a detective, and so there is no better corps of sergeants at this time to help young deputies get from the cradle to the grave on an investigation and trying to determine where we need to be and how we need to solve it.
All right, that is the end of our questions. You will all have an opportunity to visit with them one-on-one to get some more clarification. We are going to move to closings, and we'll start with Darren and move this way. So.
So I'm asking you to do your research. I'm asking you to look at every single one of us at this table, or these tables. Do your research. Find out what's happened, what you've accomplished during your career, your level of expertise. I want you to look at everybody and do your due diligence. I want to remind you that I ran last time. I ran last time because I believed that we needed a positive change. And I got my tail kicked, absolutely. But I was willing to be critical and step up and offer a solution. I was not going to do this again. I filed on day one, along with the commissioners. Day one, I walked in and filed. I went 3, maybe 4 months thinking that I was going to run against the sheriff. Nobody stepped in. When the sheriff decided that he was not going to run again, then we had a mass group of people that all want to step in and do the right thing. Okay? I appreciate that. I don't understand. I'm not entirely sure of the motivations between what people are running for. I appreciate everybody that's willing to come in and tackle this task, because it's going to take years and years and years to fix things. But I want you to remember, I ran last time, I filed this time. Nobody stepped up. Nobody wanted to do this. When you run against an incumbent, it's a tough road, and it's pretty nasty. So do your due diligence. I hope that you consider me, and I truly appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
I'm running for sheriff's office because I was asked by my peers and some community members, partner agencies. They know what I'm about. They know my leadership. They know the bonds that I've built with them. They trust me and I trust them. It was never my desire to be the sheriff. I don't need a title. I don't need accolades. But they came to me because they felt that I could lead this department where it needs to be. I run for the people that ask me to run because they trusted me, and I'm running for the citizens of this county so that we can give them the type of office that they deserve. This is our home. We need to take care of each other. We need to build relationships, and we need to trust one another. Klamath Falls, you leave here, but you never leave here. We always come back. And this is my home. And I hate to see the state that it's in with some of the things that have gone on, some things in our control, some things out of our control. Don't believe everything you read. Don't believe everything you hear. I like to say if you weren't there, don't comment on it, because you don't know the facts. You're listening to rumor or you're listening to one side. I will only make one promise. If I become sheriff, I will work hard for you. That's my only promise. Thank you.
I'm running because I have a deep affection for Klamath County, like others. And my message summed up into one word is hope. So I come in here with a slightly different deal, and I'll explain that when I conclude. I have a lot of reasons to be hopeful for where we're headed as a county. I like the repeal of, or the partial repeal rather, of 110. I like the constitutional checks and balances on Measure 114. I like that we have a pro-law enforcement district attorney sitting in office. I like that Kingsley Field has a new and renewed mission. And I love where we live. All those things are reasons why I am hopeful, though I believe that as a community, we're going to be asked to make some decisions on who we put into these positions in this upcoming election, from Senate to commissioner and of course to this position as the sheriff. And those are going to very much determine when or if we ever see those brighter days. I want to conclude my time, I guess, with this, since it's televised and I'm reaching people that I can't see inside here. But to the men and women of the Sheriff's Office, the work that we started is almost complete. I talked about that earlier in my opening. We are nearly separated in the way that we need to be. I fear we lose that if we don't recognize it and we move forward without that continuing separation of where it needs to be. It's a healthy separation. It's not a bad thing. What we're going through right now is, it hurts. It's like going to the dentist. It hurts, but it's not harmful. All right, and then to the men and women of the Sheriff's Office in all capacity, and the hundreds of volunteers that make it possible to do our job every day, you are not toxic. And that department is not toxic. This is a good place to work. You've chosen correctly in this profession. You're going to get beat up. You're going to lose some friends. You're going to find it difficult to make new friends. And you're going to put your life on the line every day. I recognize behind every uniform is a real man and woman with a real mortgage and children and a lifestyle and a profession that they have chosen. And keep fighting. We'll see how this pans out in May and all the way through November, but keep fighting. You've chosen wisely, and I look forward to working with you.
So I want to apologize. When I first started talking this evening, I didn't recognize my family. I've been married over 30 years strong with my wife, Renee. She's from here. She grew up here. We moved here, and we have been blessed and so happy to be a part of this community. Since then, we've had 4 kids, Ashley, Michael, Sarah, and Nathan. And recently, I got a new son-in-law Peyton Poe. And so we're blessed. My motivation for running for sheriff, Mr. Craig said he didn't know our motivation. Mine is for our community, our kids. I want to make our community safer and make it safer for our kids. I want them and you guys to be able to leave your house without locking your front door and going to doing whatever you want to do and not worry about your house. Will that ever get there? Frankly, probably not. But I pray to God we get there one day. What I will do as your sheriff, I will bring back 24-hour policing. We need it. You need it. I will do face-to-face contact with our deputies. There's so many things. We're all going to do the same thing. We've been saying the same thing over and over after every single informal. It's not a wheel that's being reinvented. It's got to be put back on the car. The best person's going to get in the office. The that's elected by the community, and they're going to do it. But one thing I do want to say about the sheriff's office is we need change. None of these guys that are working there are going to lose their job, but it's going to be reformatted, and it's going to be different, because those guys and girls in our community, we need change up there to do it right. Networking. I am able to network with anybody in our community. I've networked with multiple agencies, businesses, federal governments, to include city police and state police. I know where to go to get the answer if I do not have the answer. And I'll tell you right now, I don't always have the answer. Just ask my wife, because she's always correcting me. But the thing is, I accept my faults, and I will find the correct answer for you or anybody else.
For 28 years, I've wore a KCSO uniform. That's over half of my life has been in a KCSO uniform. I've lived in the Klamath Basin my entire life since I was a year old. I love it here. I love Klamath County, and I think that I can improve your public safety. My plan is on my website. I've posted it. I've talked about it. I want 24-hour patrols. I know how to do that. I've explained how to do that. I want community service officers to help our patrol deputies so that they can handle felony calls. And those calls take a long time to investigate. That's not a 1-hour process. Those are hours, 20, 30, 40 hours on some of those cases. So we need to free up those deputies. Once that community service officer program is in place, then, and only then, can we do an analysis in analytics to see where the crime rate is. If it's in East County more than North County, that's who's going to get the resident deputies, right? So it's the same with the basin. Where is that crime rate? When we're talking beats, is it south of South 6th Street? Is it north of South 6th Street? We don't know. We can tell you as cops where we normally get dispatched to, but I can't sit in front of a board of county commissioners and saying, I need 5 more deputies, and here's why. Okay? Everybody will tell you, we need more deputies, but nobody has told you we need 6 more deputies, or 15 more deputies, or 2 more deputies. And I'm not going to sit up here and tell you how many more we need, because I don't know, because we haven't done the analysis and the analytics to find that out so that I can give you one time. You know, when we go into a budget meeting in 2012, when we asked for 10 deputies, and in 2015, we asked for 2 deputies, and in 2023, we asked for 5 deputies, 2024, we asked for 3 deputies. Where are we getting those numbers at, right? We don't know. We're just pulling them out of air, hoping that we can get something from the commissioners, right? If you go in there and ask for the sky, you'll get, you know, a 1,500-foot elevation. So analysis, and then we can come up with an accurate number for you guys on the budget. Thank you.
So I'm not running for me. I'm running for the citizens of the basin and for the people of the sheriff's office. Now, I can retire in a couple of years. I can say, see you later. It's not going to be fixed in 1 year, 2 years. It's going to take 4 to 6 years to make the changes that the citizens see. So I plan on running 2 terms, maybe 3 terms. It's not a one-term thing. You know, the citizens, you guys are going to be making a crucial decision. You got 7 candidates up here. I suggest you do your background. Contact the city police department, Oregon State Police, the deputies of the office. Ask them. They know every one of us. That's where you're going to get your answers. If you're on the whim of 1 guy or 2 guys or 3, they're going to be the ones that are going to be affected by it the most. You know, it's a tough situation. You know, the community needs us out there right now. With what we have right now, with the number of staffing, we can make this happen. You know, CSOs, I'll be honest, I'm against them. We've been there before under Evinger. We were doing online reporting. We were having to go back and redo the investigations over. So we're having to do things twice. I've been there. So I'm staying here no matter what. If I'm not elected, hopefully I'm not leaving. I'm going to stay and do the job I'm doing at the best that I can. And if I get elected, I'm going to do even better. I'm going to make it a positive place to be and work side by side everybody there. Thank you.
You know, we come here and we stand up here and we tell you about our history and what we've done and the great things that we think we can accomplish. We answer your questions, and we hope at the end of the night you've made a decision on who you want to vote for. The trouble is that we all entered what was known as the political arena. And with that comes the stipulation that we are politicians. And the problem with being a politician is that a lot of people don't trust politicians. They think that we stand up here and might be telling you what you want to hear in order to get your vote. So I pose this question to you because there's probably some people out there that have not decided who they want to vote for. Maybe they've narrowed it down to 2, maybe 3. But they're really not sure who they want to vote for. If you want a true answer, I pose that you ask this question. Come up and ask any one of these guys. If you weren't in the election, who would you vote for and why? To tell you the truth, I want you to vote for me. No, really, I do. But if you come up and ask me that question, I'm going to give you a straight answer, and you probably want me to answer that question. I'm going to vote for the guy that maybe is not the sharpest dresser, but the clothes don't make the man. I'm going to vote for the guy that's honest as the day is long, and he has no hidden agendas as far as I can see. His primary concern is about you as a citizen of Klamath County, and has genuine concern about the employees at the sheriff's office. If for some reason you can't seem to vote for me, for whatever reason, then you need to vote for Darren Craig.
All right, with that, can we give them a round of applause? Thank you all. I applaud each of you for putting yourself out there. Just as I believe voting is a responsibility, so is stepping up to serve. And that we need good people to run for office. We do have, for all of you out there, we do have 2 more forums coming up. On Monday, April 29th, we will have a Senate District 28 forum. It'll be at 10 a.m. That one will not be in person. It will be live streamed and recorded, posted on mybasin.com. And then on Tuesday, April 30th at 6 p.m. here in this building, we will have a forum for Commissioner Position 3. The candidates will be around for about another 45 minutes, an hour, if you'd like to visit with any of them and ask them any direct questions. And I appreciate you all being here on behalf of the Klamath County Chamber of Commerce and our Government Affairs Committee. Thank you.